So we'll talk about social media for networking. So the first thing to say is I'm a portfolio GP, as we've just heard, with an interest in cancer and end-of-life care. I am not a social media specialist. I do use social media daily for work to look for opportunities to get linked in with people and for kind of supportive networks. So I use lots of social media in lots of different ways for that. But some of you will know more than I do about the technicalities of social media, and I'm quite aware of that. So just sort of to tell you that up front. So social media guidance, really important. So there's guidance from RCGP on use of social media, and there's also some guidance from the GMC on use of social media. And it is worth a read. Neither one is very long, and they are worth a quick read just to make sure you're not doing anything silly with it. Okay? But basically, this is what it says, is assume that everything can be seen by anyone. There is no social media that we can say is properly secure, even things like WhatsApp. Assume it can be leaked, assume that somebody in the group is going to take a screenshot of it and put it somewhere else. It's not really secure, so don't put patient information on there at all. Only post content you're happy to be associated with. If you're putting something on Twitter or on Facebook, you need to be willing to say, yeah, that was me and I'm fine with that. That's my opinion, that's fine. The Daily Mail test we talk about, if you wouldn't want to be on the front of the Daily Mail having said that, then don't say it on social media, because that is where it could end up. I mean, that's worst case scenario. Most of what you say on social media no one even looks at, but you need to be aware that that's where it could go. Check your privacy settings, because that does help a little bit with regulating who's got access to what. And don't post when you're angry. So if it's an angry response, write it, draft it, then go back and look at it an hour later and revisit it before you actually put it up. And do have a read of the guidance, because it's sensible stuff, but it is quite useful. So Twitter is probably what I use most for work and for connections. I think it's one of the most useful ones from that point of view. It was created in 2006 and then kind of went wild, and there are about 262 million users across the world, so it is a massive number of people you're potentially talking to. So finding people to follow. How many of you use Twitter? 2, 3, maybe a little bit. Okay, so it's worth being on there, and it's worth having a look. Start by setting up an account if you haven't got one. And then just start by searching for people or organisations that you are interested in. And that might be work-related, or it might be unwork-related. It depends how you want to use it. But you could start, for example, with Essex Primary Care Careers is a good place to start. And then if you go to them, but if you then go to their Twitter and look at who they follow, you'll find a whole load of other people that they follow who are relevant to you, and so on. And you kind of spiral from there and collect a load of people. And that might be all you want to do. You might just want to look at what other people are saying and never post anything yourself. But that still means if you follow and keep an eye on sort of people who are posting job opportunities or interesting things that you're interested in, it can help keep you up to date sort of CPD wise, and it can help with other bits and pieces as well, and with looking for jobs. So and lots of things you go to will have a hashtag. So hashtags are searchable. They're basically just a way of filtering things. You can search for hashtag whatever, and that will find you all the things that were said about that under that hashtag. I think that's quite useful if you've been to an event particularly and you want to then have a look at everything that was said from that event. It's quite a good way to follow this. Or if you want to then find people who were there, again, that's quite a good way to do that, is to search for that hashtag. It's also quite useful for if you're at a big conference or something to actually interact with people while you're there, because if you use the hashtag, then everyone will find each other and it makes it easier. And you know about the lists button, so there's a little cog next to the button where you can follow someone. There's a little cog that is lists, and if people have got lists set up, so for example there might be a list that's set up of GPs in wherever, you can then say actually all of them I want to follow. I can follow that whole list in one click if you want to do it that way. So we've said most of this. So you can follow organisations who are providing CPD, you can follow people who are advertising jobs, you can follow friends and family if you want to. If you want to use it for sort of more personal bits, then friends and family is also fine. Politicians, sports teams, it's quite a good way to get You can tweet things at people whether they know you or not. So you can tweet at various politicians if you want your views heard that way. It's an option. Sports, hobbies, teams, whatever you're interested in, if you want to make it more interesting. I use Twitter mostly for work, so pretty much everything I follow is either medical, political, or a kind of linked. And I don't post on it all that often, a little bit, but mostly I look at what else is going on and use it to find opportunities, really. Who's using Facebook? Anybody? Everybody? Yeah? Yeah? No? Okay. So I think less people use Facebook for work, and more people use it personally, but it is there for both. And for example, this event was all over Facebook as a pop-up, even if you didn't ask for it. So you will find opportunities that will find you if you're on there, which is quite useful. Those of you that are on it, are you aware of groups that are useful? So what groups are you on that are useful?
Resilient GP.
Okay.
And Tea and Empathy.
Okay, yeah, they're good too to start with. Any others?
Just on the next generation,
Yeah. Okay. So so Tea and Empathy is great. Resilient GP is great, although be careful what you post. You get some quite feisty responses sometimes. Tico's GP group. Have you heard of that one? They've managed to make that a bit more secure, and you have to ask them to be a member, and then they check your GMC registration and things. But on that one, they'll accept clinical questions, so you can post pictures of rashes or clinical questions and get opinions from lots of other people, which is quite useful. Yeah, there's lots out there basically. You just need to have a look. Are you two nurses or pharmacists, or you're a pharmacist? And you're not. I don't know what there is for pharmacists, but I'm sure there's something. You don't have it anyway. Okay, fine. Okay, and LinkedIn. So are you all on LinkedIn? Yeah? You're not? Okay. You're new on it. Okay. Yeah. So LinkedIn is the largest professional network, and basically, essentially on there, you put your CV. That's essentially what you're putting, is a list of all the jobs you've done, what your skills are, and people can then endorse that and get in touch with you. It is used quite heavily by people trying to recruit, and I'm not very active on LinkedIn at all, and I still regularly get approaches, mostly from locum consulting agencies, saying, will you come and do this bit of work? Occasionally, someone throws you something that's really interesting through there, and so you do get some good opportunities that way, as well as locum bits, but it's worth being on, and it's worth keeping it up to date, because people do look at it, and I would say if you apply for jobs now as well, people probably do look at it, so it's worth having it up to date and making sure there's nothing on there that makes you look in any way negative. It all needs to be nice, positive, and how good you are, basically. Yeah, has actually put it in. Yeah, absolutely. And I think more and more that will happen, because essentially people are keeping their LinkedIn up to date, and that essentially works as your CV because it's got everything there, and you can sort of do covering letter LinkedIn. I wouldn't do that if someone's asked for a CV. I'd send them a CV, but it's a useful addition, and I do think probably lots of employers now have a quick look at your Twitter and your LinkedIn and see what you're doing and what you're interested in, and that you're not doing anything terrible. So sensible. Questions, discussion, anything else you want to know? So the list, can we put that back up? Can you do that? So this is a Word document which we can circulate afterwards if anyone wants it, but basically goes through some sort of places to start. So mailing lists is a really good place to start. So particularly if you're moving area or you're getting into a new role, make sure you're on your CCG mailing list, because that's where jobs will go out through. Make sure you're on the mailing list for hospitals if they're providing some teaching or some training regularly for GPs or for pharmacists or for primary care in any way. There's lots of people that do that, and actually I would say it took me about a year to work out where all those things were happening and ask them to add me so that I knew when things were happening. So it's useful to get on some mailing lists. There's still a good way of getting things out there. Then, gone too far, sorry. So websites, so Essex Equip website has got lots of jobs in, is a good go-to place. RCGP website has got bits as well. And RCGP website has a careers bit that is recruiting for, so it's for practices to recruit, so it's not necessarily, they're not necessarily just recruiting GPs, so it is worth a look. Conferences are good, so there's lots of primary care conferences. I would advocate definitely the RCGP annual conference if you're a GP, but actually probably for anyone in primary care, there's lots of interesting stuff there across the board. But there are others, and there are lots, but they're worth going to both in terms of networking and in terms of actually you can get all your CPD in one place, done in one go, which is quite nice. So little break, conference, CPD. If anyone is, if you're trainees in Essex, there are some bursaries for RCGP conference through the faculty. So it's worth looking at that because that you apply and we can give a bursary to cover the costs of going and some accommodation and things like that. So worth a look.
Who's that through, sorry?
That's through RCGP Essex faculty.
Okay.
Twitter, there's just a list of people to start you off. But wherever, again, if you are a GP or GP trainee, if you're not following GP Journal Club, that's quite a good one. They run, usually on a Sunday, a journal club. So someone reads a paper and it's a Twitter discussion on that paper kind of live, which is quite nice. And again, quite good, easy CPD that you can do from your sofa quite quickly and easily and still fine to put in your portfolio and things. Essex LMCs often are posting things, and Equip and Essex Primary Care Careers are all useful. Facebook groups, I think we've talked about most of them, so GP Survival is another one. GP Detox is quite a nice one, it's just a bit, lots of photos of people's holidays and nice things they're doing, but quite nice. And again, there are lots out there that are worth having a look for. And then peer support. One of the problems if you're moving areas or if you're finishing training or if you're leaving one surgery is you lose that immediate peer support, and it's kind of trying to make sure you've got some way of keeping that going. So whether that's, if there isn't something already running, so like if you're a pharmacist and there isn't already a group of pharmacists, set one up, because actually you need that peer support from other pharmacists. So preferably if you're going to work in primary care, you want other pharmacists working in primary care and you want to start a bit of a network. For GPs at the end of training, it should sort of happen automatically in that there should be a first 5 group for you to move into for GPs who are newly qualified. Locally, that's variable. But again, if there isn't one, so start one. Find a few friends and set one up and get it going. So, and there's support available if you want to do that. And I think that's all. Any questions, anything else anyone wants to know? And we can circulate that to you, so that's fine, if you want those links. No? Everyone happy? Okay, thank you.